Our humble salutations to the Almighty, to Lord Krishna, and revered salutations to the entire Guru Parampara. Om Tat Sat. Okay. Now, we start today the discourse 13, 20th of April 2020. And the Hindu calendar goes as follows. Sharvari Nama Samvatsara, Uttarayana, Vasanta Rutu, Chaitra Masa, Krishna Paksha, Trayodasi, meaning it is the 13th day, just 2 days away to the full moon day. Hindu Vasara means Monday. Okay. We are now at a very significant verse of Shloka number 16, verse number 16 of the chapter 2. See, all along, Lord has been talking about the highest truth, that is the Atman, the Paramatman. And here he comes at a very much more subtle verse. This is basically, when Vedavyasji, he wanted to write the Mahabharata, then he took the help of Lord Ganesha. And there he says, can you please write to me and you be my steno? And Lord Ganesha puts a condition that you should not stop. Then only I can take your dictation. Then Vedavyasji is also no less. He says, okay, but you should write everything only after you have understood it. So Lord Ganesha also says yes to this, and that's how their deal got through and they started. So here and there are certain paradoxical verses which are a little more at depth. So where Lord Ganesha is able to think about the verse and then he says, okay, I'm ready for the next verse. So that gives a kind of a breather to Vedavyasji. So that is the understanding. So now the 16th verse, you can call it as one of the main essence giving verse, which is talking about the ultimate depth of the entire knowledge which he is giving. So we just read the verse yesterday and I gave the brief meaning. Let's now dive into the meaning and understand more from it. So here, to read the verse, Nasato vidyate bhavaha, na bhavo vidyate sataha, ubayorapi drustontaha, tvanayorstattvadarshibhihi. Here it says the unreal has no existence. Okay. Second statement. And he says the real can never be out of existence. The person who is able to see this truth, meaning who has understood this truth, he is perceived to be a man of wisdom or a jnani or the true spiritual seeker. Okay. Now let's understand what these sentences mean to us. Let's go to the first thing, which is the unreal. What is unreal? A round square? Can there be something known as a round square? It is unreal, right? or the son of a barren woman, not an adopted son, but a son to whom the barren woman has given birth. A barren woman cannot give birth to a baby, so you cannot have, that is the unreal, it doesn't exist. And then what is real? That which is of the nature of Sat Chit Ananda, which we in detail studied, the nature of existence, the nature of consciousness, the nature of bliss, which is there trikala tishtati, it is there at all the 3 points of periods of time. And it's there in desha kala vastu, time, space and objects. So when it has to be there at all points of time, then it is eternal. If it has to be there in all the objects, it has to be omnipresent. And if it has to be everywhere, which is in desha, it is the reality. So how did we arrive at that? We arrived saying that take any being, non-being, living, non-living on this, in this universe, or to which is to your knowledge. Eventually it boils down to going, if you go to the basic substance of what it is made, we get the 5 elements, and further dissect, you go backwards, you are able to see the atom, then the subatomic power, then the neutron, electron, proton, then the photons, quarks, antiquarks, all this. So which means, where do we go finally? We go to the God's particle. See, till 2012 they had not spoken about a God particle, but now even science has proved that there is something which is at the core aspect of every existence. And then we talk about the consciousness. Yes, we all are conscious. We know how a human body functions. Till the time the consciousness is there, the human body functions. In non-living bodies, you have the existence aspect. In living bodies, you have the consciousness aspect added to it. Now, between these two, the truth and the real and the unreal, there is something called as a mithya. Satya, asatya and mithya. What is this mithya? Mithya is just that which comes in between, stays for a period of time and eventually is not there. Like if you take in your daily life, take dream as a mithya. It is there for a small period of time in your entire 24 hours schedule. You might have slept for 6 hours, 8 hours, but dream is only for a portion. You can't be dreaming the entire 7 or 8 hours. So these kind of appearances, when you see on the entire fabric of creation, they are there only for a short period, and they are called as appearances, and the Sanskrit word is mithya. So this word mithya is also misunderstood by many. As we say, the great saying goes, Jagat Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya, Jivo Brahmai Naparaha. Meaning, Brahma, the Lord Supreme, is the truth, and Jagat is mithya, it's an appearance, and the identity between the God and the Jiva, Paramatma and the Jiva, is nothing but one and the same. Now here, what did they mean? When they meant Jagat, meaning the world also has got a limited existence, the beings within the world, on the planet also have got a limited existence. But at any point of time, they all carry the true essence of the Paramatma. The true essence being the existence aspect and the consciousness aspect. As we spoke the other day, yes, now we have a pair of Jnana Chakshu, divine eyes. Look through that. If you look through your normal eyes, you are able to see, yes, you see the world, the names, the forms, the appearances. You can name them based on the appearance and your understanding. You name them. But look with the Jnana Chakshu. At every object, you can do this exercise. And you will see that, yes, by essence, the core aspect of everything is that existence aspect. Greatest physicist of the world, now they are talking that you are made out of that stardust. At one point, what was there in the star was in you, meaning the same existence aspect is there always. It was there, it is there, and it will be there. There was once a businessman who was going through very tough times in business, and as a savior, he had some gold at home, and he says, let me make use of this to get some liquidity and take care of my immediate requirement for money. And he just picks up, he had some idols in his place of worship within the house, where main idol was Ganpati and a rat. Ganpati means it comes with a vahan, no? It's a rat. So he goes there and he goes to a pawnbroker and says, please, I would like to exchange, I want you to give me some loan, and this is what I can give it to you as a mortgage. So he says, first let me give the rat, because he doesn't know how much it weighs and how much money he gets, all that he doesn't know, so he gives the rat. Now the merchant, what he does, the pawnbroker, he tests the purity of the gold, and then he weighs the rat, and he says, okay, this much is the weight into this much of rate, which is today's gold rate as per whatever 18 karat or 20 carats, whatever it is. He says, okay, you're getting this X amount. Then this businessman, he feels that this is not enough for his needs, so he then gives him the Ganesha idol. See, he has been worshipping this Ganesha. So he says, oh God, I'm extremely sorry now, you only can help me, and I can't but partake you. He gives it to the broker there. Now the pawnbroker, he tests the Ganesha, and it's in line with the same purity as of the rat, and the same rate and the weight into, he says, this much is the money. Now this businessman, he gets wild at the goldsmith. He says, you idiot, you have any sense or not? Are you an atheist? Can't you make out? You are applying the same rate to a rat and to Lord Ganesha? Have some sense, man. He fires at him. And the goldsmith laughs and he says, what are you saying, sir? For me, this is all gold. You are considering this as a rat and this as a Ganesha and this as that, this. No, for me, everything is gold. See, now here there is a change in the vision. The businessman's vision is looking at the names and forms, whereas the goldsmith is looking at the content, of the name and form. So this is the play. So in the true sense, whatever you see is made up of that true substance of the Lord. So that's how we can see God in everything. You have to just change your vision. See, in small towns, this used to happen about 3-4 decades ago. So when we were all small children, every small town has a temple, and they perform the yearly festival of that temple, where a wooden chariot is with rope, it is drawn along the streets, and there's a big festival. So during that time, it's like kind of a fancy fair. So in these kind of fancy fair, what happens is you have all these small shops where they sell toys, they sell candies, they sell other eatables, and then some paraphernalia for like bangles and some clothes and all these kind of things. So here, a father and son, they both go to a shop. Now the son is excited. He sees there are candies, sugar candies, which are in different shapes. Like there is a camel, there is a lion, there is an elephant, there is a cow, there is a dog. All these kind of shapes are there. So he spots an elephant over there. He says, "Oh, I'll buy that elephant." By the time he goes there, it's sold out. There was only one, I guess. So now he goes ask for the elephant. The shopkeeper says, "Sir, I'm sorry, this elephant is out of stock. I don't have, but I can give you anything else. The camel is there, enough of lions are there, enough of cows are there. Please take." Now this child is hell bent. He's saying, "I want an elephant," means an elephant only. Father is telling him, "My dear son, it is the same sugar which is there in all these. All these are made out of the same sugar. Why are you crying?" This fellow doesn't listen. He's howling. See, here the father knows and the shopkeeper knows, but the child has got no knowledge of what is the essence behind the form. So what we need is to understand the essence. That's when you get that knowledge, then you slowly start coming up in life on the spiritual path. As far as you are stuck to the names and forms, flesh and blood, being judgmental, you can never rise. And you will always be in the circle of misery, agitation, vices. You have to rise. Yes, there are good people, there are bad people, mediocre people, selfish people, all kinds of people you will see around. But the moment what happens, our mind looks at them, it collects by memory. Oh, this, he or she is so and so person, this, and you have formed an opinion, and that comes to your mind. Just remove that, because you have no business. You have just seen them from a distance, but still all this happens in your mind. Who is getting agitated? You are getting agitated. You are not even talking to that person. You just see them from a distance. But what all happened in your mind? A negative impression came in your mind. So if you look at that and see, oh, this is a person and it's made of this essence and nothing but God. So you're seeing God all along. So for this entire creation, there has to be a substratum which is permanent. If that substratum keeps changing, the appearances will not be right. Like imagine you're seeing a movie, and the screen is there, and on the screen there is a projection of names and forms with sound and visual, audio visual effect. Now just for a moment, imagine that the screen is going up and down and is going sideways. what will you see? A distorted movie. Just like that, a riverbed. If the river has to flow, there has to be a bottom or a base or a riverbed as a substratum which is changeless. In the same way, these aspects of existence, consciousness, these are the riverbed or the screen in the form of the essence, existence part. So that's how the whole world is made up of. Why I'm talking about this at great length is you have to get this, because this is the highest thing what you can derive here. If you have got this, then everything is like a play. In verse 7, chapter 7, the Lord in Bhagavad Gita itself, he says, Mai sarvamidam protam sutre manigana iva. Meaning, in a garland of flowers, I am like the running thread. You can't see me. You will be seeing the flowers. Different flowers are seen in that beautiful garland. But that which is holding the entire garland is none other than me. In the same way, if you see a pearl necklace, that thread which is holding the entire pearl necklace is not seen. The same way, we are only looking at the names and forms. Look behind, there is something. Water is always there. A wave comes and goes in an ocean. You just need to have that jnana chakshu, without which you cannot conceive anything in this world. We are all like that apparatus, electrical apparatus. Call it a fan, an AC, a tube light, a mixie, a fridge, a TV, a radio. We are all like that. Behind us, unless and until we have that electricity factor, we can't move a bit. Hypothetically, just think if there is no electricity for the next 20 years, 30 years. What will happen to all the gadgets? They're just waste. They're a junk in our home. So we have to focus on the substratum, the essence part of any being, non-being. Keeping that in the mind, you have to function in this world. That is a wise person, a jnani, who knows the reality of this world. You be with the world, enjoy the world, experience the world, go about. But if you want to be less agitated, you have to stop looking at the person, stop inviting your memory and affirmations you have made about that person or conclusions you have made about that person, and stop being judgmental. So every sight of yours will only land up on the divine essence of God's creation. I hope this aspect is clear. So the unreal has no existence. The real never ceases to be, which means it is always there at all points of time. And the person who has understood the difference between these two, he is the true seer of the ultimate truth. Okay. Now we move to the next verse. Can you all please join me? I'll be reciting this in portions. You all can repeat after me. 17th verse, chapter 2. अविनाशि तु तद्विद्धि येन सर्वमिदं ततम्। विनाशमव्ययस्यास्य न कश्चित् कर्तुमर्हति। अविनाशि तु तद्विद्धि येन सर्वमिदं ततं विनाशमव्ययस्यास्य न कश्चित् कर्तुमर्हति। Says Arjuna, know this as that undestructible, avinashi means undestructible power, which is pervading this entire universe. Know that as the supreme truth again. And here apply the same factor, this avinashi, which is indestructible, the Higgs boson God particle. Very clear here. Yes, the whole existence is made out of this, and it is indestructible. Like you take a form which is like a mud pot. Is there a pot without mud? No. But can there be mud without a pot? Yes. Is there a gold bangle without gold? No. But can there be gold without a bangle? Yes. So which means the primary existence of every being, non-being, living, non-living, the existence aspect is that imperishable, indestructible aspect of the God. The next verse, 18. Please repeat after me. Antavanta ime dehaha nityasyoktah sharirinaha anashino prameyasya tasmadyudhyasva bharata. Antavanta ime dehaha nityasyoktah sharirinaha anasino prameyasya tasmadyudhyasva bharata. Arjuna, why are you crying? You think you are destroying somebody here. See, slowly is coming with one newer qualities of the Atman. Here, Avinashi, indestructible. So here he says Anasinaha. He gives a different name. And then added to it, he brings in a new quality, Aprameyasya. Aprameyasya means incomprehensible. You cannot explain this. It's not easily understood. It needs a great depth of thought and understanding. That is the nature, Arjuna. Bodies are born, bodies will die. But the mind and the Atman, they do not die with the body. Mind is ancient. It has lived several millions and millions of births. And Atman is eternal. Do not worry, Arjuna. Only bodies will be dead and gone, but the person is still there. So we say, no, mar gaya. Mar gaya means He is not only dead, but he has gone. Dead, the body remains here, but the person has gone. He is dead and gone. You just don't say he is dead. He is dead and gone. Dead, body lives here. Gone is the person in the form of the Jivatma, which we understood. The Sukshma Sharira and the Karana Sharira goes on to a new journey in life. You can't have a total destruction or even a partial destruction. Arjuna, why are you lamenting for this? So you have seen Arjuna is in a state of shock. So he is listening to all this now. God never gives him a chance to talk. One after the other, he is just bashing with information. Okay. Shall we do some meditation on the Panchakoshas? Okay. And I also have a suggestion. See how it works out for you all. See, what's happening is, technically speaking, we have only had this session for 30 minutes, although it is 35. 5 minutes goes in gearing up with the prayers. And if we have a meditation of 7 to 10 minutes on a daily basis, here I'm not taking into account even the Q&A. It's like we are time up. So I would suggest if we could move a little backwards and start at 4:15 instead of 4:30. So 4:15 to 5:15. Is this okay with everybody? Can you just text me? Oh, great. The response has been quite quick. Thank you. So see, my point here is listening to the Gita that you all can do from any corner. It's available all across. But I want to give you all something where it must actually bring in a change in you, and you should start experiencing that immunity from agitation, immunity from chaos, immunity from disturbances in life. And for that, practical meditation on a daily basis, or at least on alternate days, it will make sense. See, whatever we are teaching, like we did the Panchakosha, let's practice that. How can you distance the mind and the mind, body, and the pure self as a sakshi or as a witness? So that will come by practice. So if I just keep giving you the theory and then you are not able to achieve anything, then I think we both are at a loss.